The Prophet ﷺ made this dua. This is a dua I make. I want everyone who's sitting here, the brothers, the sisters, the young and the old, to get something. I know that every one of you needs something from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not smart enough to know what to say, but Allah is, and He knows. He may use me as an instrument. Allahumma inni a'udhuka min ilmin la yanfa'u. Oh Allah, I seek refuge with you from knowledge that doesn't benefit. And I pray that what we talk about the next few moments here is going to benefit every one of you. This is my sincere dua, that even the Sheikh, the Imam, my beloved brother Jibril, and all of you, I pray, even the cameraman who's frustrated right now, I pray that all of you will get something, inshallah. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? I know what you've done for yourself. Some of you have done pretty well for yourself. I was recently in a city called Flint, Michigan. And Flint, Michigan is one of the poorest cities in America. And the irony that although Flint, Michigan is one of the poorest cities in America, some of the richest Muslims live in Flint, Michigan. What will you do for others? I know what you're doing for yourself. You're fasting in the month of Ramadan. That's good. That's for you. Those you pray behind the Imam, Salat al-Taraweeh, that's good. That's great for you. There is a young man from Bosnia, a Muslim from Bosnia. He wanted to make pilgrimage to Mecca, and all he had was $200. You know what he did? He walked from Bosnia to Mecca, 3,600 miles, to perform the pilgrimage. Took him 200 and something days. At night, he spent in masjids and some schools and some of the homes of people. The Turkish government heard what he did, and they paid his way back to Bosnia after the pilgrimage. As great as that was for him. And that's a tremendous undertaking. I drove from New York City to Atlanta, Georgia, 900 miles. And I was tired when I got there. That's driving. Imagine walking 3,600 miles. But as great as that was, a great feat as that was for him. What will you do for others? There are over 1,400 billionaires in the world. 1,400 billionaires in the world. 440 something of them are in the United States. 1/3 of all the billionaires in the world live right here in this country. Some of them are Muslims. That's good. Allah has never put a limit on how much money you can make. No one can show me from Quran or Sunnah that you can only make X amount of money. No, never. You won't find that, but you will find this. That the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, said, لا تزوموا قدم عبد يوم القيامة حتى يسأل عن لا تزول قدم عبد. The feet of the servants of Allah on the day of judgment will not move until they ask questions. I just want to mention 2 of the 5 questions they ask. An malihi, about their wealth. Min ayna iktasabahu wa fima anfaqahu. How did you earn it? Not how much you have. How did you earn it? Because the Prophet said, Inna Allah ta'ala ta'ibun la yaqbalu ila ta'iba. Allah is good and He only accepts that which is good. We don't want your money if your money is haram. We don't want people selling drugs and think that Allah wants the drug money. We don't want people selling alcohol or khanzir, pork, or any of that, or gambling. Allah doesn't want that. He wants the money, but He doesn't want money that is haram. So number 1, من أين اكتسبه? How did you earn it? Number 2, وفيما أنفقه. And number 2, how did you spend it? So life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? You may become one of the billionaires, Allahu Alam. But the real issue is, after you become billionaire, then what? Brothers and sisters, Allah has blessed us in ways that you cannot even begin to imagine. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ألم تروا أن الله سخر لكم ما في السماوات وما في الأرض. Don't you see that Allah has subjected for you everything in the heavens and the earth? Allah has subjected for you everything in the heavens and the earth. Let's take a dog. When you look at the dog, even though Muslims, they don't like dogs, but look how Allah has subjected the dog for us. Do you know that some dogs have smell sense millions of times more sensitive than human beings? They are training dogs right now to smell the breath and the urine of men to determine if they have prostate cancer. SubhanAllah. Me and my wife went to Australia, and when we went to the baggage claim, there was a security man with a dog, and the dog was smelling the luggage of all the passengers, and the dog was smelling my wife's luggage, but he wouldn't leave. He just kept smelling it. And I know that he's looking for one of 3 things. Number 1, he's looking for drugs, so I started looking at my wife. Or he's looking for explosives and bombs, I started walking away from my wife. Or they're looking for food. And sure enough, my wife had food in her luggage, because they don't allow you to bring food into Australia. And that dog was able to pick up the scent of the food in the luggage. أَلَمْ تَرَوْا أَنَّ اللَّهَ سَخَرَ لَكُمْ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Don't you see? Don't you see? If I would ask each one of you, why did Allah create you? Why did Allah create you? You and you and you. You and you and you. And you. You would say, Imam, Allah created me, مَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. That God didn't create us except to worship Him. This is what you would say. True? Yes, this is true. I'm going to ask you another question. Tonight, when you break your fast and you eat your dinner, I want you to have a conversation with your food. I want you to talk to your food. For instance, how many of you like chicken? You like chicken? Imam, you like chicken? You don't like chicken. Imam don't like chicken.
The lamb.
You like lamb, okay.
Last night.
The next time you have chicken or lamb, I want you to ask chicken or the lamb, why did God create you? Why did God create you? That chicken or the lamb won't say what you said, but rather they will say this: I have lived for 4 years, I have eaten and drinking just for this night to be on your plate so that you can enjoy a meal made out of me for one night. Will you talk to your? Will you talk to your? No?
I feel bad.
Imam, you going to talk to your lamb?
I feel bad for it.
Now, brothers and sisters, this is what Allah has done for us. What will we do for others? Alhamdulillah, the Muslim Ummah is growing. I was speaking to a brother today on the phone, and I told him that I was in Nashville, Tennessee. He said, "Oh, Imam, I was there. I was in Nashville, and there's a masjid there that has some theaters that they turned into a masjid." I said, "That's why I gave the Jummah khutbah today." He said, "What?" He was so excited about this masjid. While he was here, he said he brought his nephew to go to college here, and he stopped at the masjid for the Jummah prayer service. Look at how Allah has blessed us. The largest masjid in Patterson, New Jersey, called the Islamic Society of Passaic County, used to be a synagogue, now it's a masjid. In Atlanta, Georgia, a masjid was just built, Masjid Rahman, used to be a church. All over America, synagogues, churches, theaters closing down, masjids opening up. In Moscow, right now, they're building a masjid that would accommodate 60,000 worshippers on Yom al-Jum'ah. A man named Pat Buchanan wrote a book called Death of the West. He said, in Europe, churches are emptying out, masjids are being filled up. I got a call from a good friend of mine named Mujahid Fletcher. Mujahid Fletcher in Houston, Texas, is a Latino Muslim. Do you know the demographics of America is changing? In 1970, there were 6 million Latinos in America. 6 million. Now, there are 50 million. In projections, by 2050, there will be 138 million Latinos in America, 1/3 of the population. How many Latino Muslims do we have here today? Latino? One? Allahu Akbar. What country? No? So he called me. Mujahid Fletcher called me and said, "Imam Siraj, I have some news for you. For the first time in the city of Houston, Texas, there's a masjid there, and I gave the Jummah prayer in Spanish. And every month, I will give the Jummah khutbah in that masjid in Spanish. Islam is growing. The question is, what will we do for others?" Now this comes to the major point that I wanted to make this afternoon, is that what kind of contributions do we have? Brother Jibril, you've given khutbahs here, right? How many of you've heard him give khutbah? How many heard the Imam Ahmed Lee Salat? I'm going to ask you 2 questions. What gives the ability of Brother Jibril to speak? How is he able to speak? How is he able even to walk? The Imam, how is he able to recite Al-Quran? How? What's the answer? What's the answer? What's the answer? How? How can he speak? Huh? Allah? Yes, you're not incorrect, but that's a little bit simplistic. The answer is right, but that's a little bit simplistic. I would argue the only reason he speaks, and the only reason he walks, and the only reason he recites Quran is because they have seen others, they have heard others. And I would argue that if he never heard anyone speak, he would not speak. If he never heard anyone recite Quran, he would never recite Quran. If he never saw anybody walk, he wouldn't walk. You say, no, Imam, that's not right. I am right, and I'm going to prove it to you. When you get a few moments, how many of you have a smartphone? MashaAllah. MashaAllah. I want you, a little bit later, when I'm finished the speech, or you go back home on your computer, or on your smartphone, I want you to look up something. It's called feral children. F-E-R-A-L. Feral children. F-E-R-A-L. What is a feral child? There's been 100 cases of feral children. A feral child is a child that's been neglected by its parents because of drug addiction, alcoholism, to such a degree that the child is abandoned and raised up by animals. There was a case of a wolf girl where a young baby girl was raised by wolves. And that young girl never spoke, ever. It howled just like a wolf. And the girl never stood up and walked. She crawled just like a wolf. Feral children who imitate the animals that raised them. Monkey children. All of them the same because they have no one to emulate, no one to follow, no one to learn from. How you speak French and another one speaks German and another one speaks Urdu and another one speaks Arabic and another one speaks English. Why? You speak English because you hear English. You speak French because you hear French. You speak Arabic because you hear Arabic. You only speak what you hear because by nature human beings are imitators. We imitate. And this is why the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, said, "Man tashabaha biqawmin fahuwa minhu." Whoever imitates a people are of them. Now let me tell you something that happened in New York City, and I doubt if it happens here in Nashville, Tennessee. Because Nashville, please don't get mad at me, Imam. Don't get mad at me, right? Nashville is a little bit behind New York. Imam is, he don't know, he's saying, he ain't making no commitment. New York was a little bit ahead of, come on, man. Keep you out of it. In New York City, you got young men wearing their pants
almost fell down.
Huh?
Almost down.
Down, like, you have that here? No way. No, for real? Imam, you have that? Allah Akbar. I get so mad when I see them. The next time I see a man with his pants half down, I'm going to take a stick. Yeah, I'm going to go after him. I'm going to take a stick and put it in the hand of the Imam, let the Imam go after him. Now, why they do that? You weren't born to do that. Who are they imitating? People they imitate, so they see other people do it, and they start doing the same thing. Because what? By nature, human beings are imitators. But you got to be careful whom you imitate. The best television commercial I ever saw. Now, I know none of you watch TV. I know that. None of you never watched TV ever in your life. I know that. But if you would have watched television, you would have seen what I consider the best commercial ever. Now, I like looking at commercials. I do. You learn a lot. Do you know the average child watches 30,000 television commercials a year? 30,000 television commercials a year. What do you think is the greatest commercial you've ever seen, even though you don't watch TV? What's the greatest commercial you've ever seen? Let me tell you mine, what I think is the greatest commercial ever seen. Sisters, I'm going to ask the brothers the question. If you think you know the answer, you could raise your hand too. If I would ask you, brothers, the greatest basketball player ever, who would you say? You guys don't even know that? Jordan, okay. Who said Michael Jordan? Sister raised her hand, mashallah. Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players, arguably one of the greatest players. Now, I know what the Imam would say. No, Hakeem Olajuwon. I know. Abdul Kareem Jabbar. Yeah, I know. One of the greatest commercials ever. See if you ever heard of it. Michael Jordan comes dribbling a basketball with children around him. How many seen that commercial? What did it say?
I don't remember what he said.
Yes, you do.
I've seen it, yes.
Yes, you do. What did the commercial say? What's the whole theme of that commercial? Sister? Huh? Yeah, say it again. Be like Mike. Be like Mike. Be like Mike. Be like Mike. Michael Jordan has made a lot of money playing basketball, but he has made more money in endorsing products. Why would they pay Michael Jordan millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, to endorse their product? They want to give him sadaqah? They want to give him sadaqah? They want to give him charity? No, why? Allahu Akbar. They know the nature of human beings. And what is the nature of a human being? The nature of a human being is to imitate those whom they admire. So that if Michael Jordan eats Wheaties and we look at him eating Wheaties and we want to be like Mike, then what we're going to do, we're going to eat Wheaties. If Michael Jordan drinks Gatorade and we want to be like Mike and we thirsty, what we going to drink? Gatorade. Now I ask you a question. Sisters, excuse me a second. I want to see, that commercial came out years ago. Michael Jordan came out years ago. But what kind of underwear? Hanes. How you know? Yes. Some brothers wearing Hanes. You see my point? And they know that. And Allah knows it. This is why He gives us uswatan hasana. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that we can imitate him. Who will you imitate? So brothers and sisters, in my conclusion, I want you to see, number one, that Allah has given you great gifts. I gave a speech and I was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And the place was packed. And everyone in the audience was looking at me and listening to my every word except one table. There was one table there that none of them looked at me. Yet they responded to everything that I said. And the reason that they didn't look at me, because they were deaf. They were looking at the interpreter, who was translating my speech into sign language, so that they were looking at the interpreter, interpreting what I was saying. They couldn't hear. But Allah blessed them to hear. We are so blessed as human beings, we are. If you think of all of the creations that we have, the smartphones that we have, the iPods and the iPods and the iPads and the iPhones, and you think about it. And I remember, if you ever get fixated on these things that man has made, remember what Allah said in Quran, وَاللَّهُ خَلَقَكُمْ وَمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. Allah created you and what you make. So we give praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I'm going to close now and ask this question. Some of you sitting here don't have much money. I know that. I'm not unaware of that. I understand that. But I want everyone here tonight to donate something to the Masjid. Everyone, even if it's $1. I want you to say, you know what? I want to do something for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I close with this. The Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, said, Antum shuhada Allah fil ard. You are Allah's witnesses on earth. I like to bring before us two witnesses. Can I bring two witnesses before us? One of them, his name is Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma. I like to bring him as a witness. And I want to hear something from him, and this is what he said. كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أجود الناس. That the messenger of Allah was the most generous of people. I like to bring a second witness. His name is Jabir radiallahu anhu. And this is what Jabir said. ما سئل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم شيئا قط فقال لا. Never, ever, ever was the Prophet asked something and he said no. He never said no. And whatever you ask, he gives, and 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 he never says no. So tonight, I'm going to do something different. I don't want the richest of you tonight. I want someone who's struggling, don't have a lot of money. I want you to raise your hand and tell me what you're going to donate to the masjid. I ain't talking about a rich one. I'm not talking like brothers like Jibril with all that money. I'm not talking about people like him or the Imam. Now, Imam in our city, all the Imams are poor.
I'm broke.
I don't...
Including them.
Nashville too?
Yeah.
MashaAllah. I want someone who's struggling to say, Imam, I ain't got a lot of money, but I'm going to donate this to the masjid. Anyone, somebody raise your hand. I want you to be the first one. The first one is blessed.